Hello guys, I'm Dheeraj. Let's start the seventh topic, science teachers and changing roles. So let us know the meaning of a science teacher and the changing role of a science teacher. So the changing role of a science teacher refers to the shift from traditional teacher-centered teaching to learner-centered, activity-based and facilitative teaching. So once upon a time we had teacher-based teaching, traditional method, but today we have learner centered, student centered, practical based or activity based and facilitative teaching. For example, a modern science teacher is equal to facilitator, not information giver. So at one point of time there was only teacher was only giving information to students in a teacher centered method, but today the teacher is a facilitator, the modern teacher. Next, traditional role versus changing role. In traditional olden days, teacher was just a knowledge provider. It was lecture based teaching. Students were passive, they were not active, and it was more on focus on memorization. Rote memorization was the focus in traditional method. Next we have today, changing or modern role, new method. Teacher as a facilitator, student centered learning, activity and inquiry based teaching, focus on understanding and skills. So today we have change in every concept, every point. Teacher as a facilitator, learner based learning, practical based, learning by doing, inquiry based, research based, and focus on understanding and skills. So what are the important changing roles of a science teacher? Let us look into it. First thing is a facilitator. Facilitator means the teacher will guide the students. He or she will encourage self-learning. The student has to learn from himself. He has to learn on his own. And a facilitator will support exploration. So the teacher has to give freedom to the learner so that he explores, he imagines, visualizes the concept, and here teacher does not dominate. Next, teacher as a guide. So in teacher as a guide, the teacher helps students during experiments. The teacher clarifies doubts, if any, and the teacher will encourage questioning. Teacher tells the students to ask questions, clarify their doubts, and she will answer them. So teacher as a guide is the modern role. Next, how a teacher acts as a motivator. So motivator means the teacher has to create interest in science. She has to encourage curiosity. The teacher has to build confidence among students. So many of the students have fear in basically physics and chemistry. So today, in today's generation, the role of a teacher as a motivator should be to build the confidence, reduce the fear among students, build curiosity, and create students in science. So this motivation role is very important. Motivator role is very, very essential. Next, teacher as a resource person means uses teaching learning materials, TLMs, information and communication technology, ICT, and lab resources. So teacher has to know how to use them efficiently so that students will understand better, and connects textbook with real life. There is no theory based education now. Whatever theory is there in textbook, you have to connect with real life. And today's science is not limited to textbook. Next, fifth is we have evaluator. Means during the evaluation process, the teacher will use continuous assessments like formative assessment. Then the teacher will observe the progress of the student. Is he improved? Where does he stand? Then gives feedback. So either immediate feedback or final feedback. A teacher has to give feedback for the student. How is he performing in the exam? At what level is he? At what stage is he? So it is not only exam only evaluation. It can be at any stage of the teaching and learning. Next, how a science teacher acts as a counselor. Counselor means the teacher has to understand the learning difficulties of the learner. Where is he facing problem? What concept he is not understanding? And what are the learner difficulties is the focus. Then the teacher also has to provide academic and emotional support. So it is a learner-centered approach. So that's why the focus has to be on the learner. They have to get scaffolding, they have to get support at every stage possible. All the learners has to get support. Next, how a science teacher acts as a manager or organizer. So during laboratory work, a teacher has to organize the lab work. Where has the experiment to happen? What is the experiment? How it should be performed? What after experiment? Everything has to be managed by the teacher. Group activities, obviously if you are doing group lab work, the group has to be managed. Maintains discipline and safety in a lab is very important. We have to be safe. Both the teacher and the student has to be safe, especially when we are dealing something in laboratory. So don't get confused. Teacher should not only use lecture method, she has to use many methods. And teacher has to encourage questioning. Only if the students ask questions, that means that student is thinking and he understood the concept. Teacher should never spoon feed the child, should never give ready-made answers. She just has to support the students. Teacher-centered teaching is not ideal. We have to always encourage learner-centered teaching. Next, modern teacher. In modern teacher, a teacher role is as a facilitator. Remember this word, facilitator. Science, a teacher should encourage inquiry, asking questions, doing research, doing experimentation. Teacher's role has shifted from teaching to guiding. At one point of time, teacher means only guiding, only teaching the concepts, making them memorize, giving them tests, giving them marks. But today, it shifted from teaching to guiding. So remember, in olden days, teacher will only tell, but today the teacher will help the students discover what is your interest and how did you understand the concept. It is more like realistic learning and teaching today. Thank you.